What is going on, everybody? We have a vlog. Can you believe it? A vlog. This is the first one since Arizona. And actually, ironically enough, the main reason why I'm doing this is for the USS Arizona, which we are here at the Pearl Harbor National Museum. I'm here with Armand today.
What's up, guys?
And we're gonna be joining Dane later, but Dane, he's a grown-up. He's working right now, so he's not with us right now. But yeah, we'll take you through all of the cool stuff that we're doing today. This might be one of the last vlogs in a while as school's starting again. Armand's heading back to Arizona. Gosh, the Arizona references in the first minute of this video is insane.
Actually crazy.
But yeah, I don't know. What are you looking most forward to today? You've already been here 6 times.
Yeah, something like that. No, I mean it's always nice to come, and it's a reminder of a lot of tragedies that happen. But for me, it's a good way to come and I guess pay respect to the fallen. See a part of our history that in Hawaii everybody knows about, but across the U.S. actually, I was quite surprised when I moved away, because I realized that really nobody knows about the war in the Pacific. Everybody knows about Pearl Harbor, of course, but they don't know to the scale, and they don't know anything about the U.S.'s war in the Pacific theater. Everybody knows about the European theater, and then for us in Hawaii, all we know is the Pacific theater. We don't know anything about the European theater. Right. So it's a bit backwards. But it's just, I'm excited to come out here, and I mean, I haven't been to the Arizona Memorial since, I think it was before COVID, the last time I was here on the actual memorial. But what's kind of cool is over there, you can't see it right now, but we'll vlog it, is where I did my ceremony when I got my Eagle Scout, and I had this big old submarine in the background actually. So the USS Bowfin, the one right here, is in all my pictures. And so I haven't been back since my Eagle ceremony, which was like, when was that? 2021? 2021. Yeah. So it's been at least 4 or 5 years since I've been back. But
That's crazy.
yeah,
Time's flying.
that really is.
These are all submarines that have been sunk in the Pacific. So this really just shows you the amount of damage that was done. Can't even imagine the amount of casualties. But yeah, it just puts into scale what we're dealing with World War II in the Pacific.
This is not a fun tourist attraction, and it should not be treated as such.
So it's very it's very misleading, because this green, you would think you hit it, but you actually want it to light up the ship just like that right on cue. That's a hit right there. All right, we are about to enter the USS Bowfin a little bit, but before we do, we are taking a look at some of the torpedoes that are left on display here. Look at this one. I mean, this one's a damn submarine in itself. Yeah. Armand, do you want to stand next to it just for scale?
Let's do it.
I mean, dude, look at this thing. My God.
Crazy.
Holy crap.
Dude. Wow. Oh, dude, this is a Japanese
Oh my God.
torpedo. I did not know that.
I guess not all of their stuff are small.
That's why. No, it's a manned torpedo. That's how big it is.
Oh,
so this was
look at
kamikaze,
this.
but in the water. That actually makes sense why it's so
Oh
large.
my
So
Lord.
someone sat in
Someone
there
is in here. No
and then
way.
went into the ship,
And that makes sense.
exploded.
Look, that's the
That's
accessibility
why they had
point.
that hatch.
Oh
Dude, I
my.
was looking at that and I was like, this is just a submarine.
Yeah,
That makes so
people
much
can
sense,
actually.
because if you turn around, these are normal torpedoes.
These are normal ones, right?
Obviously unmanned. Which, by the way, if you guys are interested, look up the the World War II initiative to put pigeons in the torpedoes. That was pretty interesting.
I did not know about that.
The U.S. military trained pigeons to sit in the front of warheads as an early targeting system, and then they decided to stop the project because, one, you can only use the bird once, but it takes forever to train them and a lot of money. So they were like, hey, this is stupid. All we're doing is blowing up pigeons with the torpedoes. So
It's
but
incredible.
it's interesting. You can see videos online of them training the pigeons. The way they did it is they had a screen, and then they would put a picture of the enemy ship on there.
Yeah.
And if the pigeon pecked the screen on the ship, it would get seeds. But if it missed, it wouldn't get any rewards. So they trained
Positive
it
reinforcement.
exactly, positive reinforcement to make sure that the pigeon recognized, like, oh, if I hit this ship, then it'll do that. So then on the testing for the torpedoes, what they did was they put a camera on the front, and the camera showed which ship, and the pigeon would tap on the screen trying to get the seeds, and that would move the ship. That's how they steered it. And then that's how the pigeons would attack. I don't know how many tests they did on that, but it was not many, because they were like, this is so expensive for no reason. So something interesting to look at. Look at that gun. 40 millimeter quad cannon.
Holy shit.
All right, so this is a 3-inch 50 caliber firearm used as an anti-air in the attack and just on the ships. Most of these would have been on ships. So you've got a sailor sitting here with his gun, right, machine gun right here basically. And the way it works is that you use these foot pedals to go up and down by pushing on them, and that's what rotates you left and right. This, you would spin, sorry the squeaking, but this changes your, it changes the angle you're pointing the firearm. So this
The trajectory.
moves, but yes,
Yeah.
thank you. This comes down on this gear shaft, you can see it right here, and it basically clicks down until you're pointing up or down, and that's how you change your height on this. And then the last thing is usually they have another one. So this might have been too old, but on the new ones, right, you've got 3 different coordinates that you're trying to change, your X, Y, and your Z. So X is your foot pedals, that's moving you horizontally. Y is this, moving you vertically. Z is your gyro, and that's moving you diagonal, exactly like how the phone is right now. So some of the new firearms that we use on a lot of our ships have a built-in gyro, because what happens is when you fire most of these battleships, we don't really use battleships anymore, but think about it at the time. Let's talk about the Mighty Mo, because we're about to go do that later. So on the Missouri, there are 4 turrets. Each of them, I want to say it was a 16-inch gun. I want to say that's the caliber. So these massive ass turrets, these things can shoot 20 miles out, but for that much power to come off of one gun, it moves the whole battleship, right? So a gyro comes in place for the smaller guns on there, because if the battleship is moving under you, you need to be able to stay locked onto your target, which you're using this as your training scope. So it's a bit angled. You can see that it's pointing more towards the barrel of the gun, not directly in front of your shooter. That way, your target is kind of lining up more or less with where the barrel of your gun is pointing, and you're matching this scope right here, the front scope, to this rear sight center. And once you get this dot on that means that you are locked into target. So you're sitting here like this, and you got to get, let's see, I'm right around there, and now you're firing this way, moving this up and down, shifting with your legs left and right, and that's how you would fire one of these. We are on World War II submarine.
Yep.
It's pretty cool. USS Bofin. Right now, we're in the aft torpedo room. So there's 2 torpedo rooms on the submarine, one at the bow, one at the aft deck. Right over here are the torpedo tubes itself, and this right here is where they would store them. So you've got your warhead here, it moves, this entire thing pulls over, and then there's a track that pushes this into those golden tubes. in those golden tubes. They close the gate, sealing it, and then it fills itself with water. Once it's in the water, the torpedo has obviously the propellers to push it forward, and there's a little bit of combustion to really propel it out. But that's how this works.
I like to say this. Here's the Navy, and then here's the submarine Navy. Top 2%. World War II was less. 0.000000001% of all mutinies.
A little, let's see. Oh, this is your wardroom. So this is like the rec room kind of thing. So long. So this is a main berthing right here. And then over here too, you can see even more of the different beds. Then this is the center for like any kind of guests if needed. These would pop down. So just for reference, I'm about 5'10", and this is how much space we have to work with, which Armand was telling me off camera that 5'10" was about the cutoff. Before you got any taller than that, probably gonna start to feel claustrophobic and stuff in here. But I mean, like, look, I can legit hit my head on here if I'm not paying attention. Pretty incredible stuff. Just to show you guys how small the door is, you saw me try and crawl through one. Here's Braden. So it's difficult for both of us. Yes, they had Wi-Fi. No, I'm just kidding. They didn't, but there's a router in here now. It is very, very tight in here. And then over here, this is where you control your generator. Wow, look at that. This is really interesting. This is your electrical room where they're moving things around. See this, the reverser. You've got your selectors, your batteries, all the different numbers, the general and the ones and stuff. And so you're going through and moving that. From this perspective, I'm going into here. Wow. And then here, we're at the end now. So here are the stairs going back up. And now we're on the other side of the
On the other side,
where
yep.
we started. We're now in the bow facing torpedo deck. So this is our torpedo room. Same tubes, same thing. And then underneath us is a bunch more torpedoes underneath the floor.
I think one thing that we were both talking about was you look at it from the outside and it doesn't appear to be as long as it is once you're in here. It's amazing how much stuff fits here. But we're heading out now.
Now we're standing on the actual deck, which is really interesting because compared to all the other Navy decks, right, obviously this submerges, so you can see the ground is graded so that it can drain out underneath. Most other ships, it's teak wood, which is a special type of wood where it's called teak wood because you put teak on it, and that's the thing that it's almost like a non-stick material. So they would scrub the deck, literally like how you hear it in like Navy songs, pirate songs, and that kind of stuff. But you scrub the deck, and that's how you apply the teak. It's almost like a brick of butter. Is what it looks like. And you would see dudes out there with just a stick and multiple pieces of wood. They would cover the wood in this butter, and then they would go to town. But on something like this, obviously you don't have that. So it's kind of cool. This is a better example of what I was talking about earlier, because you can see where the flaps actually move. And so if you look at this, you can see how right now it's welded, obviously, but as someone would be sitting here, these would move. They've got something here to chart out their coordinates, and they're looking through in order to find their target. And then the dude in the back there who's loading rounds, and then the guy on the other side has the firing pin. And so you're watching it. So this guy is charting coordinates, making sure we're on target. That guy is a second watch, and he's the one who's actually pulling the trigger. And then the guy behind us is the one who's loading the firearm itself. How do they do it?
right, here we go. Now we are on Ford Island here, thanks to Armand, and we are observing the USS Utah, which, as you can see, we're gonna go out on this little lookout, and there is another wreckage here from Pearl Harbor.
So the Utah is one of the ships that got stuck. So the harbor itself is pretty shallow. What happened is so many different ships were trying to get out of the harbor into open ocean where they could fight back. The Utah, on its way leaving the docks, ran aground here. So that's why you can actually see it out of the water, because the ground was so shallow that the ship couldn't move anymore. And then there were torpedoes and things like that that hit it, unfortunately. And so what's interesting is you see this white buoy here is one end of the ship. And then the other end of the ship is that other buoy way out there. And then we can see the center where it's still above the water and everything else is submerged.
This right here is all the people that passed away on the USS Utah, and I'm gonna put on the screen now the wall from the USS Arizona, and that just puts into perspective how many people passed away on that ship compared to this one. Now that doesn't make this any less significant, obviously, but it's incredible because at the USS Arizona it was an entire wall full of people and some, and then this is what we have here. So just putting things into perspective between the two ships. All right, so what I have behind me here is the USS Oklahoma, and this is a commemoration of all the people who were on this ship and passed away there. So again, I think they do a great job of honoring all of the fallen soldiers here. And some of you guys may be wondering, where is this? Well, it's on Ford Island. Not everyone can get on here. Obviously, you need base access. So again, thanks to Armand,
Yes.
We are here today. Here we go, up close.
Well, and what's beautiful about this too is that each pillar represents a soldier, but what they've done is they've put the rank of each member right over here, last name, first name, and then this is the actual rank itself, but they put the insignia up top, and then they say what their rank was. But it's cool that they actually show who these people were, not just the names. It shows what they did in the Navy, how they got to where they were, and where they laid to rest.
So you thought this gun was big? Oh my lord. Here's a point of view from the little gun over here. Pretty cool. All right, here we are in front of the big guns. Shout out AC/DC. Look at that. I mean, I think we could fit in these things, I think.
Yeah, probably. So these are 16-inch diameter rounds, and so the actual barrel of it is 16 inches between each side. That's how big these shells are. And you can actually see one over here. So the way it works is these big containers is what would actually fire. So this is closed, right? Or sorry, this would be open normally. This is full of gunpowder, it would be. And then you've got these rounds, massive shell. This goes into the top of that. The entire thing goes into the round. And then when they fire the gun itself, obviously the powder just burns, so it explodes. That's what gets you the projectile force to launch your projectile itself, being this shell. And if I remember correctly, these guns have a range of like 25 or 30 miles that they can launch these guns. And these things are so powerful that if they were to shoot, they've done tests of this where there are 12 of these guns on the ship. If they launch all 12 in the same direction, the ship itself, this massive, massive ship we're on, will move back 100 feet in the water. Wow. You have a lot more space in here compared to the last A
one.
lot more space.
You can see there's a lot more, many more rooms for different
Not to
purposes
mention
now.
air conditioning as well.
Air
As you
conditioning, of
notice,
course.
you can stand next to the AC and stuff, and you'll feel blasters as we walk past. All right, class. Today we're going over what now? We're in the middle because we're better than everyone. Imagine you're the dude who gets stuck in this bunk,
Oh.
and as people are running by, they're like bumping your shoulder and
Seriously.
your elbow and stuff while you sleep.
Check this out, coordinator. No, follow me next. I have no idea. We lost.
Oh, jeez.
Hey, checkers. Play me a game, Woody. Sit, take a seat. I will come back.
Here's your ship dentist.
My goodness, the dentist, guys. On a damn ship.
Huh. They even have their own dental facility.
How about this, guys? The United States
USPS.
Post Office.
Everywhere but where they need to be.
I've been this way before, maybe. I don't know for sure. I don't know. Oh, look! Look what this says. Exit. You made it. Here's the exit.
So you can see that obviously, this is the nicer stuff for the officers. But even to the point where like they have assigned seating based on their role. And so you can go through, like this is the chaplain, for example, administrative people, XO, he's the captain of the ship, right? So there's all these dudes that come through based on their roles. So let's see, this is the doctor, this is the legal aide, this is your operations chief, this is your supply chief, this is your dental chief. And so you've got all these people who are coming together, but because they're these high-ranking members, they get to eat in this really nice spot, really comfortable. You see the coffee machines, they got an ice cream machine, they got drinks, they got a salad bar, they got all this stuff. And then you see the petty officers mess, a little less nice than this, but still pretty nice, a little bougie. And then you see the enlisted, and the enlisted's mess hall is just it's a couple swivel chairs, and like they're connected to the desk and everything. And so not nearly as nice, but that's how it is. There's a hierarchy of it's a different class. You have your officer class, you have your enlisted class, and because of the work it takes to get to officer, usually being a college degree plus a lot of training, they get the nicer things. Yeah.
So we were once below the deck, and now we are slowly heading up. Here's Armand. And we're gonna just keep on going.
Yes, sir.
All right, here we are. And there is the Arizona Memorial right in front of us. Pretty cool.
I can't go through there, Gerard. Yeah.
Doing a little bit of navigation over here.
Oh, yes, sir.
Many of you guys may have seen this photo before, but here on the USS Missouri is where Japan officially surrendered. History.
Hell yeah.
I'll drink a beer. All right, now we are in front of the Aviation Museum here at Pearl Harbor. Helicopters, planes, fighters, all that good stuff here.
Yeah, you can see how tall it is. I mean, basically, we're as tall as the landing gear.
I mean, I could sit in this thing.
Oh, yeah. Easily.
It's unbelievable. We have more other fingers to our left.
And you guys can see how large these things are. And even this one is actually even larger than the last one. And so when you think about, you want to talk about size, I mean, look at that. He's barely taller than the wing itself.
Yeah.
And I'm not much taller either. And so seeing the size of them, you know, that one's even taller. And then you kind of get down to slower size, but pretty crazy. They are very, very large. When I did my NHD project, I was talking about the attack on Pearl Harbor, and I was talking about the shipyard and stuff. And I had the pleasure of interviewing and meeting Mr. Fred Kamaka, founder of Kamaka Ukulele, in his own personal home. And at the time of the attack, he's just recently passed a couple years ago, but I got to meet him before. And at the time of the attack, he was 17 years old and going to Kamehameha schools, which at the time was still a military preparatory school. And so everybody there was basically in an ROTC fashion, because the entire point was that if you went to Kamehameha, you would go into the military afterwards, and it kind of gave you a head start. You would get in as an officer, I want to say, is how it worked. So Mr. Kamaka, at the time, 17 years old, was standing guard over a heiau on the mountain over by Kamehameha schools and looking over at Pearl Harbor in that morning, and he was doing the early bird shift. And he said that he heard the planes coming in, and he kind of had turned around and he was watching these aircraft fly in. But he said that the sun was so bright he couldn't see whose they were. But there were so many, so he didn't know that there were any like U.S. military airplanes coming in. And then he said that all of a sudden he watched the Arizona literally just explode into just a flaming ball. And he said the explosion was so powerful, he felt the ground move underneath him while he was standing on the mountain at Kamehameha schools, looking across the island, not all the way across obviously, but looking pretty far off in the distance, seeing this explosion and then feeling it right there and then. And so he was one of the first people, and actually I got an award for this because of that interview. Because up until that point, nobody had ever spoken about how it sounded and how it felt. Everybody talked about what they saw. And my interview with Mr. Kamaka was actually one of the first in oral interviews that actually spoke about how the explosion felt. And so it was a really big deal. And you know, rest in peace, Mr. Kamaka. He was very kind to me. He actually gifted us a really nice ukulele to my family for doing this project. And he welcomed us into his home. He was very, very nice. And so I was very fortunate to have had that experience and meet someone who actually witnessed the attack on Pearl Harbor from such a young age. And then he went on to fight. You know, he enlisted in the military and went on and fought in the war, and you know, luckily came home safe. But yeah, it was pretty cool. Very unique story too. So it was really fun.